Hi guys, here with me I have the Cuban Classroom Megaminx, which is their newest product, and I'm actually quite impressed with it. The first thing that you notice, here I have the stickerless version. It also comes in black and in white, but I would say that if you have the choice and if they're the same price, then definitely go with the stickerless version. It hasn't officially been released yet, so I don't have any information on the price. I don't really know, but given it's a Cuban Classroom product, I'm sure it's going to be very cheap. They always have very competitive prices, extremely reasonable for all of their cubes, so I'm sure this one is going to be the same. So first of all, the first thing that you notice is that it has this convex shape to it, so it's got the middle of the pieces sticking out. Now a lot of people, myself I think included, prefer something like the sculpted versions, so where there's an indent instead of it coming out like this. I'm not quite sure why Moyu has chosen to do this with all of their Megaminxes, but in my opinion it's a little less nice, except something that I have noticed by analyzing it, which is pretty interesting, is that if you have a convex Megaminx like this, then your fingers might slip a little bit, and when you turn it, you're generally going to turn like in between these two pieces here. So notice where my finger is. I'm going to turn it here, and because this Megaminx is very stable, it doesn't have any lockup issues. Now I think with the Yoo-Hoo it was a little less stable, and so when you did this, and because of the way that the pieces are convex, you did this and it would deform a little bit, and then when you do a move it would lock up. Now this Megaminx is not the same. It's a lot more stable than the previous Megaminxes that Moyu Culture has released, and so when you do this it doesn't deform really, and you can still do other turns very well and very easily. And something else that's pretty cool, which is actually a good thing about this convex design, is that if you go like this and you're in between the pieces, notice that there's only really one direction that it can go. If you're in between the pieces, it has to move this face. If you're just moving a piece, like let's say if you have the sculpted Megaminx, then you're actually going to turn the piece and not in between the pieces, because you don't have any grip in between the pieces. Well, if you just turn the piece, then there might be a little more chance that you move this way, because if you just, the piece itself could move either this way, or yeah, it could move in a lot of different ways. So if you just turn the piece, then there's a bit more of a chance of it moving in the other direction that you don't want it to. That is something that seems to help, but I would say that simply the grip that the sculpted Megaminx gives you is a little bit better. So I would have preferred a sculpted Megaminx. I don't think that they have any sculpted designs for the Cuban Classroom Megaminx, but I suppose that with this convex design it does have more bumps, and so it's easier to hold, and your finger would slip in between the pieces and it would give you a bit of a better grip as opposed to a flat Megaminx like this. Now the sticker shades, or the plastic shades I suppose, I found that they were all very nice. I'm going to compare it with the Galaxy Megaminx. So you can see that obviously the white's the same. The blue is a little paler. The yellow seems to be a little less fluorescent, and I suppose if you're slightly colorblind, then you might confuse the yellow and the green on the Galaxy Megaminx. This doesn't seem to be as much of an issue because there's a little less green tint in this yellow. The purple seems to be a little darker. The green is definitely much darker. Yeah, wow. I mean, much lighter. It's much lighter on the Cuban Classroom Megaminx. The red is more or less the same. I'm gonna go at the other face. Now the other green. Oh wow. You know what? I did lots of solves and I just realized that the two greens are relatively similar on these two Megaminxes, as you can see. Yeah, that's something I had not noticed until now. And I suppose that having greens like on the Galaxy would definitely be better. So that's one thing that they could have improved in the colors. But since they're opposites, it doesn't make that much of a difference. In fact, I had done many solves and had not noticed until now. So clearly it's not that big of a deal for solving it, but it would have been nicer for it to be a little darker. And unfortunately it is, once it's in a stickerless version like this, you can't swap around the colors. So that's something to keep in mind with this Megaminx. Pinks are more or less the same. The cream is about the same as well, and the light blue too. I think we've run around all the colors. I really wish that they made a cream that was a little less close to white. It's an issue on every Megaminx. Although cream and white are very, well, no, they're pretty close. So I mean, you see there's a difference, but it's just something I've noticed in Megamixes. I find it annoying. Anyhow, the turning, which is the most important thing, is very nice on this cube. It's fast, and it's also smooth and kind of silky. If ever you're old enough to have tried an F2 and remember what it feels like, I would say that it does feel a lot like an F2. Even the sound of it, if you listen carefully, that's just what an F2 sounded like. So it's silky and smooth, which is very nice. You might expect this to be a little bumpy, but it isn't at all. And it's nice and fast too. It has a certain springiness to it as well, which I like a lot. So it might not be able to corner cut an extremely large amount. However, it does small cuts very nicely, almost as if nothing was happening. So just like this, I barely feel it at all, if anything. And reverse cuts are just about the same. When it goes like this, like this, I don't really feel it. That's one thing that can be really annoying, especially with Megaminxes. Like with the Diane Megaminx, that was an issue. If it was a little misaligned and there was a lot of force, it wouldn't really go through. But this one seems to be a lot better at that kind of lockup, and it also seems to be a lot stabler as well. So I've already discussed that the turning is quite good. If I compare it to a Galaxy, I would say that the turning on the Galaxy is a little bit better. The turning feels maybe a little lighter and a little more like, oh man, it's hard to explain this. I think that the turning on this puzzle is a bit more like a Yan 3. If you tried that, it feels like more like as if there's less contact in the pieces, which is actually exactly the fact. And in this one, it feels more like Weilong GTS, I suppose. And so they both feel very nice, and it depends. It has a bit of a heavier feel to it, except something that is interesting. I have a scale here, and this Megaminx is quite light. If I weigh it, it says 147 grams. Now if I compare it to a Galaxy, it's 172 grams. So it's over 20 grams lighter than a Galaxy Megaminx. And something else that's related to that, just by looking at them and especially by turning it and doing solves, you get the impression that this Megaminx is smaller than like the Galaxy Megaminx or the average Megaminx size. In fact, it is the opposite. I suppose just looking at them like this one does look like it's a little bigger, and it is in fact. If you measure from here to here, this Megaminx is 0.2 millimeters smaller, so this one is a little bit larger than the other ones, and it is 20 grams or so lighter, and so it makes for a bit of a more pleasant experience turning the Megaminx. I've said most of what I had to say, but a few other things that I've noticed. Now, because of this convex design, when I'm looking for pieces, I'm just going to scramble it up real quick so that I can give you a better indication. So you can hear it has a nice silkiness to it. I've lubed mine with DNM37. Out of the box, it wasn't super fast, but now it's definitely made it to a very good speed, and it has a very good feel to it. So if you look really quick, like when you're solving the Megaminx, and you look really quickly, I think it's just that our brains have adapted, or at least mine, in my case, to look more at just the convex part of the puzzle. That's especially because I'm used to either having stickers like this Megaminx, and so I'm just looking at the middle of the piece and I just see the color there, even though the color is around it. I suppose it's as if my brain is thinking that the sticker here is just a tile and what's behind it doesn't really matter. And because of that, I seem to have a few issues with recognition. It's probably just because I'm not used to it. And so when I look quickly, I'm not able to see the pieces as well. And so when I've done a lot of solves with this one, I found that I had to spend more time looking for pieces, but I'm sure that's something that would get much better with more practice, especially that I'm not quite used to these colors. I'm used to the Galaxy Megaminx's color schemes. So performance-wise, I would say that it might not be quite as good as a Galaxy Megaminx, just because it doesn't have quite as nice a feel to it. I feel like the Galaxy Megaminx might be a little springier, and it feels more robust, I suppose. And the turns seem to be a tiny bit more fluid, and everything seems to move just a little bit better on the Galaxy Megaminx. But overall, I am extremely impressed with the quality of this Megaminx, especially considering it's a Cuban Classroom product. It feels nice, everything seems to be very smooth. Sometimes though, when I do this, I might have a bit of catching. Oh, ooh. Okay. But overall, other than tiny little issues like that, I found this Megaminx to be very good. Just before finishing up, I'm going to take a quick look at the pieces. It is very difficult to pop this Megaminx, as you can see right now. Okay, and quick corner twisting, I forgot to check that. Yeah, corner twisting, it can happen. I haven't actually had it happen in solves, and it probably doesn't happen all that easily. So you can see that the stock is very large, much larger than in most Megaminxes, and there is lots of contact surface in between the pieces. Now, because of the way that the plastic seems to be, it doesn't slow down the cube, so it's still nice and fast. All it does is it makes it feel smoother, because there's a little more contact in between the pieces. So, recap, it's a very nice Megaminx. I don't know how much it costs yet. I'm sure it's going to be a great price. In my opinion, it is better than the Qi Hang Megaminx from Qi. It's obviously not quite as good as the Galaxy Megaminx, but I would say that it is the best budget Megaminx that's on the market right now. I'm just going to finish off this video. I'm going to have a solve which I have recorded on this Megaminx. Now it is a little slower than I'd say my official averages, but my best official average was very good for me, and I'm also not quite used to this Megaminx. So I hope you enjoy that solve and you've enjoyed this video. It did run a little long, but I tried to put in a lot of information for you. So thank you for watching.